3 years ago, the German sports car series DTM was gearing up for its final race of the season. Sitting atop the standings was pole sitter Liam Lawson, and starting to his left was his championship rival Kelvin van der Linde. A rival in more ways than one, as these two had already come together multiple times during the season. There was little love between them, which made their 1-2 start in the championship finale all the more enticing. Fans knew they would see animosity, but little did they know just how soon it would show as the pair would come together not just on the first lap, but the very first corner.
Van der Linde down the inside of the curbs, contact between the top three, they all go wide, and Liam Lawson and Nick Cassidy both stopped, they're both at the back of the field.
Van der Linde, thinking this was the first turn at Coda, would end the championship fight before it could even begin, taking out Lawson, eventually spinning himself and gifting the championship to the third place guy Maximilian Gotz, who was just happy to be there. The race spawned an enormous outcry on social media, with many fans rightfully calling this the worst championship race ever. But little did they know that not too long after, that title would be challenged. And no, I'm not talking about that race, although admittedly, it was pretty bad.
What the fuck?
You see, close championships in Europe are pretty rare, since all it takes is one team catching fire to run away with the trophy. But here in the US, barn burners aren't just common, they're guaranteed, with at least 3 of them running every single year. Yeah, we're kinda spoiled like that. Thanks to the NASCAR playoffs, runaways are a thing of the past. So you put together an all-time season and won a quarter of the races? Who cares? That's boring. But if you just win that last race, that one championship-deciding race, well then you get all the spoils. Just look at these stats. This makes sense, right? Right? Of course I'm being sarcastic. It's an incredibly flawed system that fails to reward year-long success. So yeah, the playoffs. They've created some memorable moments, but for the most part, it's a really dumb format for a racing series to have. And never has that fact ever been more prevalent than on November 3rd, 2023. A day that will live on in infamy, the day of the Craftsman 150. Wait, where is it? I see the Homestead race, but where's the finale? Did they forget to upload it? Oh, they put the wrong thumbnail on it. Oh boy, we're in for something truly special. As with every NASCAR championship race these days, 4 contenders enter with a reset resume, level on points. Everything that happened over the past 9 months doesn't matter anymore. All that matters is how you do tonight. Starting first of the 4 is by far the title favorite, Corey Heim. He has the most top 5s, top 10s, the best average finish by a country mile. The only area where he isn't leading is in wins. That title belongs to Carson Hocevar, who's been having nothing short of a dream season. After years of putting on standout performances only to come up short every time, Carson finally got the first win of his career earlier this year at Texas. With the years of build-up leading to this moment, people thought Carson would be satisfied with just the one, but then he kept on winning. He did it again and again and again, and now he finds himself here, with a chance to claim his 5th win of the season and of his career, but most importantly, to claim a championship that in the past 2 years wasn't even in the cards for him. Partly because he squandered every possible chance at victory, but also because one of those championships belongs to another driver. The only driver of today's contenders who's already won it, Ben Rhodes. He won the title back in 2021, but that comes with a bit of an asterisk. You see, the real dominator of that year was John Hunter Nemechek, beating Rhodes in just about every conceivable category. But like I said, what you did in the 21 races before matters not. Only this race matters, and unfortunately, it didn't go John Hunter's way. So yeah, Ben's championship run was far from the most deserved, and entering tonight's race with only the 5th best points total in the field, it's doubtful that this one would be either. But nevertheless, he's back, vying for his 2nd Truck Series championship. Still searching for his first is our final contender, Grant Enfinger, who enters this race with perhaps the biggest weight on his shoulders, as his team will be shutting down at race's end. GMS Racing, known for having just as many wins as they do number fonts, announced a few months earlier that 2023 would be their final season, and thanks to a valiant effort at Homestead in the week prior, GMS has the chance to go out on top. In fact, all 4 of our contenders finished that race 1, 2, 3, 4, reassuring the notion that heading into this weekend, there are no more deserved drivers than these 4. Well, besides maybe Rhodes, but we'll discuss why in a few. For now, the green flag was waved as history was ready to be made.
Oh, contact!
Stuart Friesen is around. That'll bring out our first caution of the night.
From the get-go, this race was a wreckfest. Just 5 laps in, Derek Kraus spun Stuart Friesen directly in the path of Hailie Deegan, who just barely managed to avoid.
Great job by Hailie Deegan. Sometimes you just got to lock her down and avoid the contact. Don't try to dodge them, and she did just that. What an amazing job she did of not running into Friesen in that 52.
All right, easy, Michael. With no points to be gained, Corey Heim conceded the Stage 1 win to Ty Majeski, and after a couple more mid-pack melees, Heim would finish 1 one spot better in the second stage. As for his championship competitors, they hadn't even cracked the top 5 yet. And it made one thing clear. This had been Heim's year, and if things kept up the way they were, this would be Heim's night. Though an 18th place restart would rain on his parade, partly caused by a bad pit stop, but mostly the causality of strategy. With just 50 laps remaining, contenders Heim, Rhodes, and Enfinger decided to make what they thought would be their final pit stop, putting them right behind the rest of the trucks that stayed out, including their other competitor Hocevar, who had been struggling on the long runs. Now sure, he would be restarting 16 spots ahead of his opposition, but on older tires he was a sitting duck, and it wouldn't be long until the rest of them would catch up.
Oh, trouble.
Caution.
I said it wouldn't be long until the rest of them would catch up. Boy, if they keep wrecking mid-pack, it's going to be a long night. Just 10 laps after the restart, Heim had climbed from 11th to 7th, putting him right on Hocevar's butt nearing 30 to go. Now, given the amount of laps left, it would behoove Heim to bide his time, and that's exactly what he did, patiently waiting 2.5 laps to finally make the pass. Especially given that this pass was for a potential championship, something we've seen go awry many, many times, he went about it about as respectfully as he could. So how did the 42 respond?
Oh, and he spins him. Carson Hocevar gets into the back of Corey Heim and brings out the caution, the 7th one tonight.
I really don't understand that.
Well, he dove into turn 3 and popped him and went down in turn 1 and just spun him out.
At this point in the race, I was freezing my ass off at War Memorial Stadium, watching the Wyoming Cowboys gobsmack the CSU Rams. The game was basically over, so I went back to my car to turn on MRN. And just by the way they described this incident over the radio, I knew it was bad. Well, after watching it back later on, turns out I was wrong. It was actually worse. While he was one of the sport's most beloved underdogs, Hocevar's reputation up to this point had grown quite sour. September 2021, he spun out on purpose to bring out a caution with just 10 laps to go. March 2022, he spins Tate Fogelman under caution. May of 2022, after dominating most of the race, he makes an egregious send into turn 4 that takes out himself and his only real competitor that night, Ryan Preece.
All you kids watching right now, wanting to get to this level, don't do that.
July 2022, Hocevar right rears Colby Howard on the straightaway. August 2022, he takes out Nick Lights to stay on the lead lap. October 2022, he once again spins out on purpose to bring out a caution. And even his first win in early 2023 didn't come without controversy, as he essentially had to drive through Nick Sanchez to get it. Hell, half a lap before he sent Corey Heim, he was beating his back bumper off into turn 3. So yeah, while he might show remorse in the moment, people have grown wise to his act. And that included some of NASCAR's top talents. Said Chris Buescher, what a pitiful lack of sportsmanship. Said Kaz Grala, kids these days. What? Bro, you're 25. Said Tyler Reddick, this dumbass will never learn. Damn. Said Denny Hamlin, likely sitting in a lair with a Persian cat in his lap, this is what happens when there's no rules, no officiating. You get a product like this. The show has taken over US motorsports and why it's hard to take seriously. Oh, Denny. So naive. How could he have known that the real show was just beginning? With 20 laps to go and 2 new championship contenders up front, a mid-pack pileup would force a 10-minute red flag for cleanup.
Did you just say, Michael, you can't stomach another restart?
I didn't want that because it's only going to get worse.
Despite the major setback he had experienced earlier, Corey Heim had already climbed back up to 7th on fresh tires. The only problem was that Carson Hocevar had climbed even faster on tires that were fresher. So with less than 4 to go, knowing he couldn't climb any higher, Heim made sure that if he was going down, he wouldn't go down alone.
Oh no!
And caution is out again. Can you believe it?
I was looking on the scoring monitor that Corey Heim was backing up to Carson Hocevar. I have to believe that that's related.
I believe he just said that's fair.
Say what you will about the ethics of it all, but one thing's certain. The 2 best drivers all year, the 2 everybody was hoping would fight it out for the championship, mutually assured their destruction. And with that, there were 2, Grant Enfinger and Ben Rhodes, ready to finally settle this championship in everybody's favorite, NASCAR overtime! An overtime period is technically just 2 laps, though the rules stipulate that if the leader takes the white flag, the race will end no matter what happens after. So that's all they need. To finally end this race from hell, they just needed to run 1 clean lap. The green flag waves, Zane Smith leads them out of 4, and...
Oh, there's a caution!
Alright, we didn't really think we'd get it on the first try, did we? By the way, what was that move by Ben Rhodes? He just gave Enfinger a tire rub that forced him onto pit road. Well, I guess that's one way to win a championship, as Rhodes would be restarting 2nd, and Enfinger 22nd. It would take a miracle to bring him back into the fight.
Who's to say we won't have multiple restarts here the way these cats are driving?
Goddamn, Mikey, who gave you the script? And as for Rhodes, he didn't really need to do anything. He had enough track position on Enfinger that he could run 2 of the slowest laps on the day and still walk away as champion. That's all he needed to do. Green flag would wave once again, and...
Oh,
Trouble! There was contact by Ben Rhodes behind him.
Oh my God. With that, all 4 championship contenders had been caught up in a wreck. And with his newfound left front damage, Ben Rhodes would have to go on defense in tonight's 3rd overtime attempt. Once again, the green flag waved, and...
No!
No,
Majeski gets turned around.
Jesse Love got into the back of him. Caution is out again.
Just a reminder, these guys are professionals. They get paid to do this. Anything's possible, kids. With this crash came the 12th caution of the night, and most harrowing of all, a 4th overtime attempt. In the championship decider. You know how it goes by now, the green flag would wave, and... oh, they actually made it to the white flag. And Enfinger somehow closed the gap. Can he be the real hero? Can he be the one to save this race?
Grant Enfinger is going for it. To the outside he goes. It's not enough. Ben Rhodes wins the championship at Phoenix.
No. Ben Rhodes, likely experiencing shell shock, picked up his 2nd Truck Series championship. And Grant Enfinger, despite making one of the hardest charges to the front that we've ever seen, would come up just short. He could have pulled a Hocevar and wrecked his way to the crown. In fact, that might have been what he was trying to do. But he narrowly missed the 99's bumper, forcing GMS to close its doors not as champions, but as the runners-up, forever lost in wonder of what could have been. Too depressing? Well, good, it's about to get a lot worse. The winner of this race was Christian Eckes, who, in the end, finished the year with 51 more points than Rhodes. But because of his elimination in the week before, he was also left to ponder the hypothetical, knowing that if he had just finished 4 spots better in the previous race, this whole race could have been a whole lot different. In fact, of all 4 of the actual Championship 4 contenders, Ben Rhodes had earned the least amount of points all year. But there he was, chugging beers on stage as a 2-time truck champion. Oh yeah, here's another neato nugget for you to munch on. The time between Hocevar spinning Heim and Rhodes crossing the finish line was about 70 minutes. In that time, they ran just 58 miles, averaging less than a mile a minute in a NASCAR race. Meanwhile, I had spent that time driving from Laramie, Wyoming to Fort Collins, Colorado, a 66-mile drive. I drove further in that 70 minutes in my 2012 Hyundai Veracruz than a field of professional race car drivers.
Oh, that's just sad.
Although I must admit, the outcry on social media after the race was by far the best part of the night. Feels good to laugh, because this race sure didn't give us any reason to smile. Well, besides Ben Rhodes' press conference.
That guy has good hair.
So what do we make of all this, now that we've had a year to stew? Has it gotten easier to swallow? Did us fans overreact? Hell no! It was an unmitigated disaster, not just because of the abhorrent product on the track, but because of the bigger problem it reflected. Young drivers used to be self-made. They used to be grassroots mechanics. It was always in their best interest to run as well as they could, but also bring back their cars in one piece. Well, these days, most only adhere to the prior, as their multi-million-dollar family fortunes and sponsorship deals can make up for any amount of twisted sheet metal. It's why, even while knowing that there's a bigger battle being fought, 11 other trucks finished the 2023 season in the garage. It is all take and no give. The drivers don't have an ounce of respect to spare. It's why Hocevar wrecked Heim, it's why Heim retaliated, and it's why, even while fighting for just pennies on the dollar, countless other drivers were willing to change the outcome of a championship just for their own small gains. And the worst part? NASCAR sat back and let it all happen. Hell, you could say they orchestrated it, as President Steve Phelps, who, in response to reporters asking if the playoff system was too gimmicky, said it's not. It's an incredible playoff system that rewards the best drivers in the sport. I'm just gonna put this back on the screen. The Truck Series is now approaching the 1-year anniversary of this disaster in the desert, and Corey Heim is looking even stronger than he did last year. He's already doubled his win count and is currently on course to make another championship run. And if he does, I'm hoping for just one thing, that like the Cowboys to the Rams on that equally awful night of football, he demolishes the field and leaves no trace. Because while I do like a race to come down to the wire, him winning the championship is the only way we wash out that bad taste from last year. Because if that race taught me anything, it's that a close finish can come at a steep price. It can cost your legitimacy, your dignity, your respectability, and your pedigree. But at least it was exciting, right? Right?
This race was an embarrassment. This race was an embarrassment not for the series, but for the sport.
This is going to be one of the biggest black eyes on the sport for a long time. This was awful.
But I'm still confident in saying this was the most embarrassing championship race.